Hello, everyone, and inside today's Locked On Canadians, a late night recap and tons of prospect updates.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1037 of Locked On Canadians. We are your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every single day of the week, wherever you get your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or if you are watching on video, youtube.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. I am your host for today's show. I am Scott Matla. My co-host is off for today. She will be back with a special guest episode tomorrow while I am out of town for a work event. So much good stuff coming up there. I am here to talk to you all about today. We're going to go over the Canucks game that played late last week, just because wanted to get something out on that. I know that they are playing the Kraken today. I'm recording this on Sunday morning currently, but the game was going to be late. We like to get this out right at the usual time at midnight. Laura will have part of that in her show as well. I am here. We're going to go through that recap. We have 3 up and 3 down with so much prospect stuff to talk about. Probably going to have a shorter down section and just expand on what I've seen so far from the prospects this weekend. But let's just kind of jump right into things in that the Canadiens lost to the Vancouver Canucks on Thursday night. Not unexpected, mind you, because, all love to the Canadiens. They are not what you would call a good team across the board. But it's a game that wasn't overpowering in one way or the other. The Canadiens were very clearly not the better team in this. But I look at this and go, what part of this Vancouver team was supposed to make me afraid a little bit? In that the Canadiens didn't do enough to beat Casey DeSmith. Like, full disclosure, I'm not saying the Canadiens should have won this game. I don't think so. They only gave up 25 shots to the Canucks, more faceoffs. No team scored on the power play. Vancouver out-hit the Canadiens, more block shots for the Habs, equal giveaways, more takeaways for the Canucks, which I'm confused how they each have 4 giveaways, but the Canucks have 12 takeaway. I don't get how they classify these things here. It's a kind of game that shows that the Canadiens have a long way to go in something. Some things were not their fault. They cannot control the officiating in the game, of which I thought, for some reason, the officials just did not like Caden Gooley in this game. He got elbowed in the face by Teddy Bluger, like pretty blatantly elbowed in the face. They got together, didn't call anything. They were looking at and this is not like off the play where they're not following it and it's kind of behind it. The puck is in play when Bluger comes in with his elbow out and hits Gooley in the face. His head snaps back. Nothing. Moments later, they go down the ice. Nikita Zadorov scores his second of the game, which one, if you're giving up goals in Nikita Zadorov, something is going horribly wrong for you anyways. And then there's one later on in which Höglander, I believe it was Höglander or Connor Garland, has their stick. They come up straight under the chin and out. Obviously, when you get hit with a stick in the face, head goes back and nothing. It was the kind of game that I look at it and go, really? And that's what we're doing here. And it's not, it made a difference in that it looked like the Canadiens were hanging in there. But based on the way that the power play performed that night, I don't think it would have actually made all that much difference, if we're being very honest. The big thing in this game, I think, over everything else is, again, you have Juraj Slafkovsky on the board. 15 goals on the season. Cole Caulfield gets another assist. It was a really nice goal at the end of the second period. Caulfield, picks off a pass, circles back through, cuts, around in the offensive zone, working along the blue line there, and gets and scores that goal or puts a puck on net. Slafkovsky gets a stick on it. deflects it by there. We've seen Slavkovsky score with a shot, sweeping pucks in and everything. I think this is the first time we've seen him use that hand-eye coordination and score a deflected goal, I should say here. It's progress in his game. It's diversifying the portfolio, which I realize sounds very businessy and like ridiculous, but I think that's the best way I can actually put it. Is it feels like that is how he gets to the next level, there is continuing to add to his toolkit a little bit. Uh, Maybe not Montembeau's best night. I don't think the team in front of him did much to help him. The Connor Garland goal, he was just going completely the wrong way on a shot that probably could have been saved. Um, as I know plus minus is not the great decider on things, but when I see a guy like David Savard at -3 and Arber Jack at -2, it's clear what pairing got picked on a little bit in this game here. It's not ideal, but at the same time, I'm far from worried about it, because again, Vancouver should be just dominating the Canadiens in these games here. I want to just look up the there we go. I haven't actually looked up the numbers for this. It was a game the Canucks just kind of dominated puck possession in. It's not expected goals 2.1 to 1.06. It's just one of those games that the wheels fell off for the Habs. And as we're going to talk about in the next segment a little bit, is they need somebody else to start scoring goals, because the top line's just getting absolutely honed in on. I don't think anyone on this team, Tanner Pearson and Michael Pizzetta, are the only two that finished with positive Corsi 4, and Jordan Harrison, Nick Suzuki are the only ones who finished with a positive expected goals percentage in this. Not the game you want, unfortunately. Going along with that, we deserve so much better in terms of broadcasting for this game. And I know that it is the West Coast. You don't have the usual crew out there for this. I think Brian Mudryk is a very good stand-in there on TSN. I think he's very good at what he does. There were points in this game that I am listening to Craig Button, who was doing color for this, just rambling about nothing. He was talking about Elias Pettersson at one point, where because I believe Rick Tocchet said he's playing, injured a little bit here. And then all of a sudden he's just ragging on Elias Lindholm. And all I can think is, call what's going on in front of you. I look away for a second and I can't tell what is going on from your commentary. It is a problem. The rink noise, extremely loud, which I don't mind rink noise, but when you have people trying to talk over it, it lessens the quality of the broadcast. And then I don't know if this is an ESPN thing, if it is an internet provider thing. It just seems constant this year that there are video errors. There's just cameras aren't set up right, aren't color contrasted right. There was a game that everything looked like it was yellow. It played in like that sepia tone, ridiculous thing that the commentary isn't working, or is too loud, or isn't working at all. There's too much rink noise. There's no noise. You just have ESPN Plus, which only functions when it wants to. Sometimes there are games that it just goes, well, I'm not going to load. Your entire Chrome browser is going to crash now. Please reboot it to get your stream back. And then you go to reload the page. It says, well, this is unresponsive now. Why is hockey such a hard thing to get right broadcast wise? I look at all these other sports that the panels, just the quality of the commentary and just the production itself feels better. People this weekend who are watching David Reinbacher's AHL debut were like, this is horrible. I can't read the jerseys. The camera angle is terrible. And arena to arena in the AHL, it's different. The one in Belleville is admittedly hot garbage. By the end of the game on Saturday, the camera which is controlled by a person, was barely following the play. That you can only make people care so much. That's really my only kind of finish at the end of this here, is that if you're going to stay up until for a 10 o'clock puck drop, which means the puck's dropping closer to 10:10, 10:15-ish, you hope the broadcast is better. I had video distortion of this, and it's like, I just want better if I'm going to stay up. The good news is Sunday's game, obviously the Habs will have their TSN crew out there. The Root Sports crew who does the Kraken broadcast with friend of the show, Allison Lucan, are fantastic. They're informative. In terms of road broadcasts and home team broadcasts, one of the ones that I do go out of my way to listen to just because I think they are a fantastic group. Laura will have a mini recap of that for you before the Monday episode. I'm going to transition things because we are now in it's 3 up and 3 down on Monday. And we're going to dive into the small down section because I want to get to all the good stuff coming up in our next segment. But first, it is sometimes so hard to buy tickets for whatever event you are looking for. Whether you want to go see the hottest play, you want to go see your favorite comedian who's in town, there's a concert you're dying to get tickets for, or with baseball season right around the corner, you want to go see your favorite team hit some dingers. But sometimes you go, you look at tickets, you get blasted by hidden fees. You're not sure what the quality of your seats are, and you're not sure that you're getting the best deal. The good news is with Game Time, you can throw all that out the window. They've got killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from receipt, and the best price guarantee. Game Time will take all the guesswork out of buying tickets. And guess what? If the events get canceled, if you lose your job, can't pay for that, they have protection in place for all of those. And you can see the views from your seat. And then when you go to cash out, you will see, guess what? No hidden fees. All you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Some terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. And for those who might be new, 3 up and 3 down is our Monday thing where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything in between in the Canadiens world or hockey world at large here. In the down this week, I wanted to keep this really simple, actually, is that I want to know who else is going to start scoring goals for this team right now. It is phenomenal to see 3 core pieces of this team dominating the score sheet. I love it every time I see a goal and it has a Caulfield, a Suzuki, or a Slavkovsky name as part of that. Would that be the goal scorer, the goal assister, whatever? I love that. The biggest issue is currently becoming nobody else is doing anything. Joshua Wall went out, and the Canadiens kind of lost a crucial piece of their second line there. And losing a rookie winger who's played less than 40 games in the NHL should not spiral a group. And yes, it is very hard because you have Alex Newhook, who is probably not going to stick as a center, playing center in a big role there. I think Raphael Harvey-Pinard is doing the best he can to fill in. He's having a year that it's very similar to what happened to Charles Hudon years and years ago, is that he had a really good rookie campaign in a lost season, put up a ton of points, playing secondary minutes, got fans excited that maybe he could make the jump. And then this year it's just been injury, and there's no flow to the game there. And I think Raphael Harvey-Pinard is much better than the numbers that he has posted, his counting numbers that he has pointed this season here. But God, the team could use him to step up. Yes, Yolanden is in the same way. He can't even get regular lineup minutes at this point. You want some of these younger guys to step up and be like, we want to be here next year. Will Jesse Yolanden be a part of this team next year? I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if they go, well, we tried. We really did. We wanted to have him stick around and earn a place, and he hasn't done that yet. And everyone on this podcast who listens to this knows that I am rooting for him as a player and that I want him to work out because he's got so much skill, a ridiculous shot, and just nothing seems to get going this year for him. And that kind of leaves you like, what do you fill in next year? You're looking for lower price replacements to fit in there because you have, well, luckily the cap is going up, but you're still close to it due to some of the older contracts. You still have the David Savard deal. You still have Josh Anderson, you have Brendan Gallagher, etc., that you are hoping somebody cheaper can step in and fill that void there. And right now, the Canadiens aren't getting that. I haven't looked at the total breakdown for stats here, but I'm going to look at their team stats right now on NHL.com here. Obviously, Suzuki leads the team in scoring. Cole Caulfield's right behind him. Mike Madsen has 47 points. Slavkovsky has 38. The next person on this list in terms of scoring is Jake Evans, who has 23 points in 69 nice games. Alex Newhook, 22 and 42. Gallagher has 20 in 64. Josh Anderson has 18 points in 65 games. Like, I'm not expecting Tanner Pearson, Michael Pezzetta to be those guys. Christian Dvorak, obviously, but like Colin White's played 20 games, has no points. Like, somebody in here, I'm begging anybody to step up and find that role. I think Yoel Armia has played great, not in terms of scoring goals. I think that his two-way presence, really strong defensively, really good on the penalty kill, and then being able to be a cog in a cycling piece there. There's a team out there that should look at what he's doing right now and go, that actually might be a missing piece that we need. A really strong, like third line defensive minutes winger there. Unfortunately, the Canadiens cannot retain any salary on that, but I'm just across the board looking at this here. No shorthanded goals this season either. This is just a team that is crying out for somebody else to step up. Bless Jake Evans for trying. He's doing his best he can with a line that isn't exactly going to support him all that well there. I think he's doing everything he can, but can Brendan Gallagher step up more? Josh, and I know we pick on Josh Anderson so much. 18 points in 65 games, minus 18, 68 penalty minutes, no power play goals, no shorthanded goals, no game winners, no overtime goals. While getting paid that much for that long is bad. He's almost getting outpaced by David Savard, and David Savard's not exactly an offensive dynamo. Savard has 2 less goals than Anderson does and 1 less point. If that doesn't kind of put things in perspective a little bit, it should. Michael Pezzetta, 10 point. Like, it's not what this team needs. And that I know they're trying to lose out. And I believe, I haven't checked Tankathon, but I believe as of last night, I think the Montreal Canadiens have slid back into the 5th spot. They've lost 4 straight games. They have 62 points. Ottawa won last night. The Canadiens are now in 5th place in there. Their other pick currently sits 25th from the Sean Monahan deal. And if I'm looking at the mock draft, it has the Canadiens taking Cole Yzerman 5th and Beckett Senecki at 25th overall out of the OHL. And then if I scroll all the way down to that 2nd round pick, Anthony Cristoforo from Windsor, right-handed defenseman. I still think that I would prefer Berkeley Cadden or Caden Lindstrom for this, but I also understand that there's a chance they might not be there. So all in all, not the worst thing I've seen for the Canadiens this week in that, hey, they didn't play terribly, but they did move up in the draft there. And on remaining strength of schedule, the Canadiens still have the 2nd hardest strength of schedule. They have the Rangers, the Avs, the Panthers, the Hurricanes, another Leafs game, another Tampa game left. Their easy games are considered the Senators, the Kraken, the Islanders, and 2 against Detroit. There are 2 teams there fighting for a playoff spot. Their biggest rival, and Seattle, who they've always just played poorly against. It's a pretty rough go there for the Habs down the stretch. But if you are into that whole, hey, they got to lose games to finish in the top 5, this is going to be perfect. I want to transition kind of off the negativity a little bit. So many prospect things this weekend. I want to get into all of those coming up next. But first, we are past the halfway point of the season, and we know the Habs are picking in the lottery again. The trade deadline's come and gone. We know what this team is, but regardless of where they are in the current standings, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of Locked On NHL Network. And Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. I look at, are you playing the Canadiens this week? Guess what? Pick someone who's going to score goals. because they're going to put you on the power play and they're going to score a bunch on that. And guess what? All you have to do to win 100 times your bet is correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, or more in any given game. So if you think McDavid's going to continue this freak show of a season, if you think Kucherov's going to drag the Lightning into the playoffs, kicking and screaming, is Austin Matthews going to hit 70 goals, you can put them in your lineup and win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. We are back once more. It is the fun part of 3 Up and 3 Down where I get to talk about all the fun stuff that has happened here, all the good things. And we talked about, Slavkovsky and Caulfield, et cetera, and all them. We're gonna transition into the prospect realm today. And boy, oh boy, and I'm gonna start on Friday night because I would be remiss to not do so. I had, if for anyone who has seen photos of what my recording setup looks like, I have one screen to my left here, which is actually the one that I'm using for this podcast, and one to my right that is connected to my Xbox. I will stream one game on here, usually the NCAA game, and I will have the Rocket on the other one just to kind of be able to keep an eye on both things. I watched Lane Hutson score an incredible toe drag around a defender goal against Maine on Friday night, en route to them making the Hockey East final. Not even an hour later, the Rocket were trailing 2-0 to the Belleville Senators in a crucial game. They are chasing the Senators and the Marlies for a final playoff spot in the AHL's North Division. Elias Anderson completes a one-timer from Philippe Maillet, gets him on the board, 2-1. Little bit of life, not getting shut out. Things can happen. A minute and a half later, 50-50 puck in the neutral zone. And I see someone step up and poke it, and I go, okay, it's aggressive. That's something I can see Logan Mailloux or William Trudeau doing. And as I talked about in one of our prior segments, the camera on Belleville isn't great, and the Rocket jerseys are a little hard to read it. The person 50-50 snagging that puck in that 50-50 battle is David Reinbacher, making his North American professional debut, regular season professional debut. I know he played preseason games, pokes it, gets it on his stick, and then I watch him toe drag around one defender so smoothly. Defender runs into his own teammate, knocks him down. He is in on a 2-on-1, and I thought for sure he's going to pass it. Nope. Rips one right by Mads Sogard. Ties the game 2-2. And it is such a huge boost to put an exclamation point on your debut like that. Then they get to overtime. Logan Mailloux gets the overtime winner, 2 points for the Rocket. The Rocket won again on Saturday. Their veterans, Brandon Gignac, Philippe Maillet, Emil Heineman, all stepping up, contributing there. Another couple of assists for Logan Mailloux. Huge win for Jakub Dobiš as well. He helped he already surpassed the record for most wins in a season for a Rocket goaltender, beating Caden Primo's 19. Logan Mailloux set a Rocket record for most goals by a defenseman in a season with his 14th as the overtime winner there. The Rocket then won again, like I said, on Saturday night. Another little less structured, maybe a little less flashy, but it's still a win is a win in regulation, no less. They currently occupy the last playoff spot in the North, meaning they have a play-in round against the 4th seed. They play the Marlies today, Sunday at 4 p.m. I will unfortunately not be able to clip that. I have prior engagements, but it's a huge game that if the Rocket can win this, they don't control their own destiny, but they are far better off. But it's the end of a 3-3 weekend. They got smacked around by the Marlies last weekend. Should be exciting to see how that one goes. We'll obviously talk about that later on this week. But Lane Hutson, again, we're going to transition now into Saturday. Lane Hutson, Luke Tuck, Malcolm Celebrini, I guess, against Jacob Fowler. Boston College versus BU does not miss in college hockey. There's so much talent between the two sides that every single battle of ComAv this year has been can't miss. And in every single one of them, win or lose, Jacob Fowler has been incredible. Lane Hutson was, again, very good, but Boston College just was unstoppable on their power play. There's so much talent on that team. Will Smith, 4 goals, some good things from Gabe Perreault. And yet all I can talk about in this is how good Jacob Fowler was. It's late in the game. I believe it was 4-2 or 4-1 at that point. And I believe it was either Hutson or Celebrating gets a shot off, and Jacob Fowler, a cross goal, comes across with his blocker and just diving save across his goal, knocks it out of there. He was otherworldly against BU on Saturday night. He is the deciding factor in that game. BU couldn't stay out of the box, but when they were at 5-on-5 and dominating play, Jacob Fowler gave them nothing, absolutely nothing to work with. They're both making the tournament, so that doesn't mean you're going to see Lane Hutson or Luke Tucker or anyone ahead of schedule here unless they get eliminated in the first round. But boy, oh boy, there's every chance in the world you could see them square off again at some point in this tournament, and it's going to be just as intense. But Fowler and Hutson were incredible. It's hard to understate that Jacob Fowler might end up being the best goalie in the country this year. He's nominated for the Mike Richter Award, and he might go the Caden Primo route. That really good freshman year, comes in another year, wins a whole bunch of stuff, and then, you know what? I got nothing left to prove. Move into the NHL. His timeline is unknown. I don't think the Canadiens are in any urge to rush him. Samuel Montembeault's 3-year extension kicks in next year. Caden Primo has another year. Jakob Dobish has another year. And I can see them, giving him another year in college, see how Primo does at the NHL level, how Dobish does in the AHL again next year, and how Monty does overall, and then start working to bring him in. He might come in, start in the AHL, and then just go right to the NHL, depending on how Primo Montembeault goes. There's no shame in that whatsoever. Just incredible, unflappable as a goalie, which is by far probably one of the best traits you could ever ask for that isn't a physical one in that. Also want to talk, Oliver Kapanen has been lighting it up in the Finnish playoffs, and he's kind of a forgotten prospect. He's having a much better season than I think many of us anticipated because he kind of fell off the radar a little bit. People fell in love with Lane Hutson, with Emil Heineman, some of these other guys here. He's 20 years old, turns 21 in July, and I'm looking at his numbers for CalPA this year. 34 points in 51 games, up from 27 and 55 last year. And he's lighting it up in the playoffs. In 4 games, he has 7 points so far. I think that he's someone that it would be wise to keep an eye on, potentially coming over and being a Rocket player next year. I think that he's absolutely the kind of guy that you could throw in there, and he would definitely thrive in that role and get one of the new guys over here. He's 4th on his team in scoring, behind what looks like a lot of veterans on this team here. And he's still a kid. He's 20, almost 21 years old. Patrick Bexell often points out that, why isn't anyone talking about this? It's because everyone was focused on Reinbacher's season. Adam Engstrom, who's having admittedly a very strong playoff. Rogel is continuing to impress. It was kind of thought, they'll play and then they'll lose and he'll probably come over there. He's sticking in Sweden for a little bit longer now. Kapanen is kind of fallen under the radar, kind of like Rhett Pitlick has in the NCAA as well. Selection Sunday, we will find out if there are any Habs prospects coming over after the selection tonight. I imagine we would have gotten news on that already, but I'm not anticipating much. I would anticipate Tuck and Hutson when their season is over, and maybe Rhett Pitlick when Minnesota's season is over. But beyond that, maybe not too much. Obviously, Owen Beck is continuing to just terrorize the OHL in Saginaw. It's a good time to be a prospect person because the Habs, if they're playing poorly, you have other options to go watch. You can watch Quentin Miller in the QMJHL. You can watch Cedric Guindon, Owen Beck in the OHL with all the prospects that are potentially available there. You have guys like Lindstrom and Catton, etc. in the WHL. In those playoffs, you have the European playoffs going on in Liga and in Pat's going to kill me, the SHL here. I almost called it the Elite League there, which it's not anymore. You have those, and then you have the AHL where the Rocket are going for a playoff berth, and all the NCAAs. There's always something to watch. If you have any, things that you think I missed out on, what are your 3 up and 3 down? You can tweet us at LO_Canadians, lockedoncanadians@gmail.com. I am at Scott Matt on Twitter. Laura will be back with a very, very special guest for y'all for our Monday for Tuesday episode recording tomorrow night. They're going to talk Reinbacher. They're going to talk a whole bunch of other stuff with the scouting eyes attached to it. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and listening, and we will see you all next time.